So one thing that I am very fortunate of in my decade of riding motorcycles is to never have one stolen. I can't say the same for some of my friends, and not too far from this location, my buddy was curled up in his fifth wheel camper, catching some Z's, and right underneath him, under the tongue, his bike got stolen.
My dad was actually parked. The Jeep was parked right here. The rooftop tent that you stayed in was open so that the passway was just right here on the other side of this awning. And the Z was right here.
So literally while your dad was sleeping, they wheeled it off.
My dad was sleeping right there. That's my bedroom.
A few days had passed and he had pretty much written off the bike as being gone forever. Little did he know I would take on the task of tracking down and eventually recovering his stolen bike.
Right behind that Tahoe toy hauler, there's two handlebars that stick to the mirrors.
Yeah, you! Yeah, baby, let's go! Now that wasn't an easy job and I never want to do that again. So after that whole experience, I started putting more of an emphasis on protecting my investments. There are a lot of different ways to prevent motorcycle theft, some basic, some pretty involved. So for the sake of simplicity, we're going to focus on 5 key elements. I'm going to skip ahead a bit because I don't want to lose you. If you own an Apple product and you don't have one of these right here, do yourself a favor and pick one up using the link in the description. This right here is an Apple AirTag. I'm sure a lot of you out there are familiar with it, and this is what I'm going to refer to as a ping tracker. And if you're not in that ecosystem, there are other options for ping trackers such as the Tile or Samsung trackers, but those are far less effective due to the sheer number of Apple users out there, which is how these things work. To sum it up, the AirTag uses the Find My system or tracking system to emit a Bluetooth signal that's picked up by other Apple devices in the area. So say your bike gets stolen and they're riding past multiple vehicles and somebody happens to have an iPhone, it will ping at that location and start tracking based on those signals. Now I have had experience with the AirTags and have done some real world testing, and let me tell you, they work. Now the biggest benefit of these ping style trackers is you don't have to pay a subscription service compared to a GPS tracker. With a GPS style tracker, you have to have a SIM card and you're basically paying for a cell phone plan. So for how cheap the AirTag is and the fact that I'm already in that ecosystem, it's a no-brainer. The battery can last over a year and the Find My app is really well done and has been around for a long time. You can do a bunch of different things with the AirTags and they offer tons of accessories. For the bikes, I just buy the cheap adhesive mounts on Amazon and just hide them in the frame somewhere. So if this bike did get stolen, I would jump in the app right away, put it into lost mode, and that way when it does ping off other devices, it'll send you real-time notifications. That way you can start tracking it down. Now I know a lot of people are just thinking about the negative aspects of that and the fact that it won't be 100% reliable, but nothing is. To disregard something as cheap, effective, and simple as the AirTag is just ignorant. Now as far as the GPS trackers, I've done quite a bit of research and one of the most trusted is from Moto. With this system, you're given a tracker which is quite a bit larger than the AirTag that you have to find a spot to hide in your bike, as well as a key fob that actually disarms the alarm every time that you're riding. Now this system will run you $200 initially, and then you'll have to spend a yearly subscription fee of around $100 for the SIM card. Now I kind of have mixed feelings about the GPS-based trackers just because you do spend a lot more money and they're still not 100% reliable. There's gonna be dead areas that you don't have signal and the bike can still get lost. Apart from that, the trackers are bigger and easier to find by thieves. One of the first things that experienced thieves will do is go strip the bike down and either rig up a new ignition or get it ready to sell for parts. And in that process, they will probably find the tracker. I still think it is much better than having nothing at all. So if you do have an expensive bike that you really care about, look into that. Now moving on to the next methods. If you live in the United States and you don't carry insurance, you are an idiot. You can find some of the cheapest plans through mom and pop agencies and pay next to nothing to insure your investment. But I actually use State Farm just for the simplicity, the well-designed app, and the fact that they're one of the only ones that would cover my box truck as a camper. You can also insure dirt bikes, but I happen to have the 250Fs registered as motorcycles, so no problem there. I paid $200 $1,000 for the year to cover this bike, but that includes absolutely everything. And like I said, you can find much better deals, but front to back, this thing is covered, all the aftermarket parts, roadside assistance, theft, collision, pretty much everything I got. And I did that because we rely on these things out here on the road. We actually had a breakdown on our journey out west, and this thing got us to the parts and got us to safety. So that is one of my biggest peace of minds and recommendation as far as theft is to just carry good insurance. Now, unfortunately, that just covers you for the financial side of things. If this were to get stolen, there is a slim chance that you will ever see it again. Unfortunately, law enforcement just doesn't have the time or effort to put into tracking down these things, and even expensive cars, just theft in general. It just gets lost in the sauce, and you really do need to rely on insurance for the payout. But like I said, that's just the financial side of things. That doesn't keep your precious favorite toy from being stolen, so let's get back on track. Now it's time for some mechanical forms of prevention. Most of the time, thieves are gonna go for low-hanging fruit. If it's a hassle for them, they're not gonna bother with it. Now there are several types of locks, ranging from rotor locks to brake locks to steering locks that almost all bikes come with from the factory. That also happens to be the least effective method. They're pretty easy to break with a swift kick, and the thief will be on their way. Now my favorite method of theft protection happens to be a chain. Not just your typical run-of-the-mill chain or bicycle cable lock. I actually use a specifically built locking chain from a company called Kryptonite. These things are damn near bulletproof. I actually have 2 of them, and they use a 10mm 6-sided link made of 3T manganese steel. Now, I don't know what all that means, but basically they are strong as f. The locking system it uses makes it really hard to grind or drill out. It would take somebody a long time with an angle grinder to get through it. A lot of the times when Alexis and I are out riding in urban areas, I will actually chain the bikes together. So we'll park the bikes right next to each other, and I will wrap the chains in the middle around the forks. And I would love to see a thief walk away with 2 of these bikes, or us not hear them grinding the chain in time to come out here and whoop some ass or pull out the blicky. Personally, that's the only form of mechanical theft prevention that I use. If you do have a bike that's on the heavier side and can't just be picked up and walked away with, I would highly suggest a rotor lock with a built-in alarm. So that'll keep a thief from just rolling away with the bike until they notice it, but that alarm is absolutely obnoxious.
Okay, okay.
Another option is to use a brake lock, but I'm not a huge fan of those because they put a lot of stress on the seals in the master cylinders. But once again, anything is better than nothing, and nothing is gonna be 100% reliable. So we just covered 4 different methods. I think the last and final one is the most important, which is storage. A huge factor into preventing bike theft is to just store your bike out of sight. Out of sight, out of mind. Now I know not everybody has a garage, so you gotta get crafty with this. I actually just went camping off of this bike, and I had to leave it at a trailhead and hike to the location. So instead of just parking it at the trailhead, I actually wheeled it down to a place where you can't see it, and it's pretty hard to get to. If you don't have a garage, park it around back. Park it in a fenced-in yard. Take the bike inside. I know a lot of my buddies that have apartments, they'll just bring their bikes inside, and trust me, it is worth it. A lot of the newer fuel-injected bikes don't stink at all, and if your wife won't let you take it inside, it's time to find a new one. If you're in an urban area, try to park in sight of a camera. If you're just sitting down to eat, or if you have an office job, try to park your bike to where you can see it out the window. Ultimately, you just need to find a plan that works for you and use a combination of these methods to prevent those damn thieves. But I try not to stress about it too much, because at the end of the day, if somebody wants something bad enough, they're gonna find a way to get it. Now, I know a lot of that's common sense, so if you have anything else to add or anything you practice in your own day-to-day life, drop it down in the comments below. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and always remember to live free and adventure daily.
Got my bike back.
Huh?
Got my bike back.
I don't know what you're talking about.
A thief.
I have no idea what you're talking about, dude.
Thanks for the bike. Catch you on YouTube. Adventure
I
Daily.
have no idea what you're talking about, dude.
Adventure Daily, baby. Let's go!